Hello and welcome to this videocast for subscribers to davidicke.com. Well, a couple of the themes of videocasts in the last few weeks come together this week. One of the themes is the world is mad, completely bonkers, and the other is the network of Western orchestrated and engineered terrorist groups that are causing mayhem in the Middle East and Africa to create the circumstances for a Western takeover, cabal takeover. And those two themes come together in this organization that's, of course, all over the news because of what it's doing now in Iraq, a group called ISIS. And now that's a very significant name, which I'll get to later. ISIS is the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, because they want to take over that whole area. And the Islamic State in Iraq and Al-Sham is another version of ISIS. And Al-Sham is actually very appropriate, although perhaps Al-Scam would be much better, because a scam it is. It's another movie, a horror movie, yes, but it's another movie designed to orchestrate events that eventually will allow the subjugation and control of the whole of the Middle East and, in the end, the whole of Africa. Now, this ISIS was supposed to have kind of started about 2004, but it was in April 2013 that it took the present name and started heading towards what it's doing now. And it's said that it is an outgrowth, if you like, from Al-Qaeda. And the propaganda is that it's so extreme, ISIS, that it was too extreme for Al-Qaeda. Now, they are trying to, or have spent all these years, seeking to sell us the lie that this Al-Qaeda organization was behind 9/11, and if you can get more extreme than doing what happened on that day, they didn't, but the propaganda wants us to believe that, then how extreme must this ISIS be, according to this propaganda, that it's too extreme for Al-Qaeda? Load of bloody rubbish. And let's go back to a base position here, in fact, a database position. And that is that there is no Al-Qaeda in the way that it is portrayed by Western propaganda, the way that it is described in terms of its structure. This is Robin Cook, former British Foreign Secretary, very soon before he died, actually. And he said this: throughout the 1980s, Osama bin Laden was armed by the CIA and funded by the Saudis to wage jihad against the Russian occupation of Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda, literally the database, was originally, he said, the computer file of the thousands of mujahideen who were recruited and trained with help from the CIA to defeat the Russians. Inexplicably, Cook says, and with disastrous consequences, it never appears to have occurred to Washington that once Russia was out of the way, bin Laden's organization would turn its attention to the West. Well, it's not inexplicable. It's how the game works. The idea is to create these terror groups, or in many cases, create the belief in these terror groups and how they operate, to justify, under the problem, reaction, solution scenario, create the problem, get the reaction, do something, then offer the solution to the problems you have created. Under the problem, reaction, solution technique, to justify intervention into countries because of terrorism, and justifying more and more freedoms and basic civil rights being taken away in your own country on the excuse of protecting the population from terrorism. And on this Al-Qaeda situation. Here's Jason Burke, author of Al-Qaeda Casting a Shadow of Terror. He's talking on a BBC program called The Power of Nightmares. And that is, in many ways, problem, reaction, solution. The power of nightmares. Get people to experience or think they're experiencing a nightmare or potential nightmare, and then save them from the nightmare which you have created. Anyway, Jason Burke says this about Al-Qaeda. The idea, which is critical to the FBI's prosecution, that bin Laden ran a coherent organization with operatives and cells all around the world of which you could be a member is a myth, he said. There is no Al-Qaeda organization. There is no international network with a leader, with cadres who will unquestioningly obey orders, with tentacles that stretch out to sleeper cells in America, in Africa, in Europe. That idea of a coherent, structured terrorist network with an organized capability simply does not exist. But what he was talking about there was Al-Qaeda at that time. This ISIS situation is different. This is a new stage. This would appear to be a very organized network, extremely organized, immensely well funded. I mean, I've seen figures of maybe $2 billion they have at their disposal, and extremely well armed with American weaponry for reasons I'll come to. And here's a big piece in the Daily Mail newspaper this week, Jihadi Terror Group PLC. And the reason they call it PLC is because they've produced accounts, like annual accounts of a company, detailing finances, but also detailing all the murders they've done, the beheadings they've done, and all these horrors that they're carrying out. And it's just like a PLC has produced it. And this is a highly organized operation. And this is, like I say, a new stage.